Hi everyone, and welcome back to Splash Page. I'm Sean, and today we're going to be talking about The Sandman, the new Netflix show coming out on August 5th. The Sandman was a comic series written by Neil Gaiman. Between the years of 1989 and 1996, there have since been some side stories and additional content published, but really the main series took place within a 75-issue run. And likely that will be all you need to know to be able to kind of understand what's going on in the show to come. So we're going to take a look at the trailer that we have currently and go through and kind of call out who some of the characters are and talk about a few theories I have for the show. The Sandman was a Golden Age DC character that had really been underutilized when the comic came out. And when Gaiman was asked if he would like to write a story about the character, he was like, yeah, of course I would want to. What's the catch here? And he was then told that there's only one catch, that they'd like a new Sandman. Keep the name, but the rest is completely in Neil's hands. So he kind of went off the board. Sandman is no longer a superhero who fights crime in a fedora, but rather one of the seven Endless. The Endless are kind of entities that are around human civilization. Think of them almost like gods. So the seven Endless are destiny, death, desire, despair, delirium, destruction, and the Sandman. But as you can tell, he's known as Dream or Morphious. So all of the Endless start with the letter D. The comic takes place in the DC universe. So when you're reading it, you do hear quite a bit about some other characters that are in the DC trademark. So Mr. Miracle, the Scarecrow, John Constantine, and even Arkham Asylum. I wouldn't expect this to really carry over into the Netflix adaptation because Netflix doesn't own the rights for the majority of the people and places I just mentioned. So I would assume that they're going to kind of redraft these characters. The story starts with Roderick Burgess attempting to capture Death, one of the seven Endless. His goal is to be able to be the master of Death, but by mistake, he summons and then captures Dream. They aren't quite sure who he is at first, but they eventually figure it out and strip him of all of his possessions and sell what they can. However, what do you do with a being of supernatural strength and cunning when you can't kill them? You can't just let him go and apologize and not expect to have any kind of retribution coming your way. So they did the only thing they could think of. They kept him captive. In the comics, this lasts for about 70 years before Dream figures out a way to escape. This captivity causes a number of things to happen. Some people weren't able to sleep at all, some people weren't able to wake up. Some dangerous artifacts that were taken from Dream have been dispersed throughout the universe. And some elements of the Dream world have come into the real world. If I had to guess, I think this first season will cover aspects from the first two graphic novels, Preludes and Noctumes, and The Dollhouse. The Sandman story isn't a linear, cohesive story. It's more of an anthology, really. But the stories all incorporate Dream, the show, especially this first season, to do that. I really expect this to be quite a bit more linear and cover off on some of the biggest storylines from early days in the comics. The first two graphic novels are really about setting right what went wrong during his imprisonment. And so when we start to look through some of this, we see the Corinthian, one of the escaped nightmares, who I believe will be positioned as the big bad in this first season, but he's not alone. There'll be a lot of bad guys for Dream to contend with. We also have Dr. Destiny, who can control people's minds, and you'll see him holding this red ruby, which is the Dreamstone, one of the items that was taken from Morpheus during his imprisonment. We also have Lucifer, played by Gwendolyn Christie. Lucifer is the fallen angel, the Antichrist, the ruler of hell that we all know from religious teachings. Lucifer is basically an equal to the Endless, but kind of different at the same time. Lucifer has no love for Dream, and they encounter each other a number of times throughout the comics, leading to a lot of the best interactions, I would say. Cain and Abel, the children of Adam and Eve, are also in the comics. They live in the dream world. This looks to be Abel with his pet gargoyle, Gregory. We see Dream talking to his favorite sister, Death, who is a very loved character in the comics because of her upbeat personality, even though what she's doing for her life and for her work is, bringing people to their death. We see Dream get back his helmet, one of the items that he's lost, so we know he's on the search for those for sure. Desire makes an appearance, and Desire's known to not have a gender, but to appear as the desire of the person looking at them. Desire and Dream do not get along, but there's a rule that none of the endless can kill each other. So throughout the comics, there are a lot of plots and plans where they are scheming against each other. And I would love it if they start to hint towards some of these, even though I don't expect them to really be paid off in this first season. We also hear from this lovely raven who is Matthew Cable. Matthew was a character from Swamp Thing who died while sleeping and is offered either to continue to be dead and to go to the afterlife or to be Dream's raven, and he chooses to work with Dream. There's a lot of great things about the comic and the mythology around the Sandman. It's going to be a really fast paced, fun series. And unfortunately, because it's Netflix and it's all going to drop at once, if you don't watch it in the first week or two, we might hear that it's already been canceled for season 2. So please, if you have any interest in whatsoever, turn that on the first week, give the first episode a go, and see what you think. Well, that's it for me. Take it easy, YouTube.